granted at 0%, and it still pays $139.87 a month. Testicular atrophy, 1 testicle, rated a flat 0. For life. His rating never moved. 1 line on the exam did. If you're stuck on the bad side of 90, this is the one add-on that pays you without moving your rating a single point. There's a sentence a doctor can write that decides this entire claim, and I'll give you the exact words before we're done. Pin that.
I'm Erica, and the word doing the damage here is atrophy. Veterans read it in their own medical file, they assume it's the qualifier, and they file on the diagnosis. Look at what the regulation actually asks for. It never says atrophy. It asks a board for diameters.
Hey everyone, Jasmine here. The receipts say the same thing. 38 CFR Section 3.350. That's where this benefit lives. It's written like a lab order, not a diagnosis.
It's Fenrir. One question first, Tiffany. If the scheduler rating for 1 shrunken testicle is 0, why file at all?
Because 0 is the rating, not the check. Verdict time. The rating table starts at 10%, so a 0 pays nothing on its own. The add-on doesn't come from the table.
Take the 2 numbers apart and it stops being confusing. The scheduler rating grades how much function you lost. Special monthly compensation is a different statute answering a different question, and it pays on top.
Fine. Then the premise is wrong, not the veteran.
Careful though, because the exam is where it's won or lost. A rater can't grant this off a diagnosis code. Somebody in a clinic has to put a number on paper.
And the honest bound, up front, because this isn't for everybody. If a truly elective operation you chose after you got out is what caused it, the regulation shuts the door. But read the next sentence, because most people stop too early. An operation your doctor advised for a pathological condition is not elective under the rule. That door stays open.
For everyone else, this is what a board is actually looking at when they write that number down. 2 diameters, and how the tissue feels under them.
$139.87 a month. Every month, back to the day you filed. That's what the number on that paper is worth.
Here's the ruling that runs this whole episode, and it's the question I'd want answered if I were watching. Does my testicle have to be gone for the VA to pay me?
No, that's the short answer, and it's worth the next 20 minutes to understand why.
Last time I promised we'd get to the benefit hiding behind a 0, and that's today. Everything we cite is written up free at va.professorerica.com, with the rating tables and a claim checklist you can work through tonight. Different word, different test.
So the diagnosis only names it.
And the measurement pays it. Coming up, the one word buried in this paragraph that hands you a right almost nobody knows they're holding.
Chapter and verse then, because this is the paragraph the whole benefit hangs on. Section 350, paragraph A, fubragraph 1. It hands a board a short list of findings, so any one of them establishes loss of use.
Read the first one exactly as written. The diameters of the affected testicle are reduced to 1/3 of the corresponding diameters of the paired normal testicle. That's a ratio. Not a feeling, not a diagnosis, a ratio.
And door 2 is where people get ambushed. 1/2 or less, plus a change in consistency. Considerably harder or softer than the other one.
Right, and that one's a pair, not a menu. About half the size on its own does nothing. 1/2 or less, and altered consistency. Both halves of the sentence, Erica, or it isn't door 2. Let me ask the thing that actually decides this, because we're describing the rule and the rule isn't the problem. Who is holding the tape measure, and what happens when they don't write the number down?
That's the right question, and it's not one we should answer from a document. Let's get somebody on who reads these criteria for what they are. Callum Lindquist knows this corner of the schedule cold.
Happy to. Start here because people run 2 words together. Atrophy is a description. Loss of use is a finding. A doctor writes the first one because the tissue looks small. A board writes the second one only after somebody measures it.
Callum, what does a good exam report look like versus the one that sinks a claim? Because I want people to hear the difference, not just the rule.
The one that sinks it says mild to moderate atrophy of the left testis and stops. No dimensions. A rater can't do arithmetic on an adjective. The one that wins gives both testicles in centimeters, both dimensions, and a line about texture.
Which is why the smartest thing you can do before the exam is ask for the measurements in writing, because without them the file just says the tissue is
Wrong. Any shrinkage counts. Atrophy is atrophy.
no, and this is the exact belief that costs people the award. There's no rating and no add-on for shrinkage as such. A testicle at 80% of its twin is atrophic and pays nothing. At 1/3 it pays for the rest of your life. The word is identical, the money isn't.
Callum, then the paperwork is the disability. Say that part out loud.
You're right, and I'd been soft on that. I've been calling it an evidence problem. It isn't. For a veteran whose tissue genuinely qualifies, a blank line in the report is the denial. That's not evidence. That's the injury going unrecorded. But the last door is the one to understand before anyone offers it to you. A biopsy showing the absence of spermatozoa. Section 3.350, I believe. Check the number. The principle isn't in doubt. It applies only if neither size test is met.
Look at the ordering there. That's the safest route. Measure first. I mean safest if the ultrasound is actually done, which is a real if.
The criteria I know cold. How hard to lean on a regional office that sat on a thin report for 8 months. I genuinely don't. That's somebody else's craft, and an accredited representative will read that room better than I will.
Think of this benefit as having a doorman. He doesn't care how bad it feels. He doesn't care what the diagnosis is called. He cares about one number on a tape, and he lets exactly the right people through.
That's it exactly, and the two of you see the money side of this far better than I do. Somebody should walk the actual arithmetic because I don't think people believe the add-on is real until they watch it get added.
Then let's add it. Take the harder case, the one the schedule does pay for. Both testes, complete atrophy, service connected. Diagnostic code 7523 gives you 20%.
20% with no dependents is $356.66, effective December 1st, 2025.
And the add-on doesn't blend into it, average with it, or round it off. It's a separate line. $139.87 laid on top.
$496.53 a month. Nearly $6,000 a year, and about 1/3 of it's the line most veterans never ask for.
Half true is generous. Most of them don't know the line exists.
Then let me leave you with the one thing I'd want a veteran to take away, and thanks for having me on. One word in door 3 is worth more than the rest of the paragraph. The biopsy has to be accepted by the veteran. Accepted. That word is a right, and almost nobody reading this regulation notices they hold it.
Accepted. Hold on that word, because it means somebody can say no, and I want to know whether saying no is smart or expensive. Let me pause for just a second, because this genuinely helps. If you are getting value here, hit that like button, then subscribe and ring the bell. It costs you nothing, and it is the single biggest thing that keeps these videos coming. One word, accepted by the veteran. A testicular biopsy is the only route to this benefit that the VA can't simply order, and that turns a medical question into a decision you get to make. Erica thinks that word is a safety valve people should almost never pull. Fenrir thinks it's a warning label.
It's a warning label. $139.87 a month is real money, and it's not biopsy money. You don't put a needle in an organ to win a monthly benefit.
Then argue against the thing I'm actually saying. Nobody here's telling a veteran to volunteer for a procedure. Read the order of the paragraph. The biopsy is door 3, and the regulation only reaches it if neither size test is met. For most veterans, this fork never opens.
Start with something nobody argues about. A man loses a hand in a blast. Nobody measures anything. The hand is gone, the file is closed, the benefit is paid. Now move one step. The hand is still attached, and it does nothing at all. Now somebody has to define useless, and the second you have to define it, you need a test. The missing hand is the acquired absence. The useless hand is loss of use, and the grip strength test is the 1/3 rule.
Okay, but the way the VA handles a hand like that, forget the hand. A hand you can demonstrate. You squeeze, they watch. It's over. What do you squeeze here? That's the catch, and it's where the analogy breaks. Unlike a hand, you can't demonstrate this one. The tape measure is the only witness you have, and if nobody picks it up, you lose.
Plainly, then, loss of use of one testicle is established by an ultrasound measurement or by a biopsy showing no sperm. That's the entire rule.
Then watch the thing you're both arguing about, because it's remarkably boring. This is the scan. A probe, a screen, 2 calipers and a number. No needle anywhere in this room. 10 minutes, no anesthetic, and it answers door 1 and door 2 outright. This is where these claims are decided, and it's why I keep saying the biopsy fork is mostly theoretical.
So the ultrasound gives you the diameters and the consistency in one go, which means the report either has the numbers or it...
Wait, who orders the ultrasound? Me or them?
Either of you can. And that's the answer nobody gives him. Erica, take the detail.
VA should order it as part of the compensation and pension exam, and often does. But you don't have to wait and hope. A scan your own urologist orders, with the diameters in the report, goes into the file as evidence like anything else.
Sure, but do I refuse the biopsy or not?
You never have to accept one. That's in the text, not my opinion. And if you decline it and your measurements fall short, then the claim fails on that route. Both of those things are true, and a veteran deserves to hear the second one.
Which is the whole trade. It's an invasive procedure on a healthy organ to prove the organ isn't working. For most people, the honest answer is no, and the honest cost of no is a denial.
And before this video ends, there's a court decision from January that puts a ceiling on all of this, one that changes what you should bother claiming in the first place. We'll come back to it.
Verdict time, and I'm scoring this one split. Fenrir gets the consent point, and he gets it outright. It's in the regulation, not in his gut. The biopsy must be accepted by the veteran. You can say no, and nobody can hold that no against your character. Erica gets the sequence, and that's the half that saves you. Doors 1 and 2 are a photograph and a ruler. Door 3 is a scalpel. Almost nobody who measures first ever meets the scalpel. So measure first, and keep the right to say no in your back pocket.
Ruler before scalpel.
Almost none of these injuries happen the way people picture them. The receipts say the typical claim isn't a blast. It's a hernia repair in 1996 and a testicle that quietly gave up afterward.
Jasmine, that's the door most people never even try. Section 3.310 does the work here. If a condition is proximately caused by something the VA has already service-connected, then it gets service-connected too. One sentence, and it reaches decades forward.
So the atrophy doesn't have to have started in uniform.
Correct, and this is the part that unlocks the most claims. It has to trace to something that's already service-connected, or to the treatment for it. The date on the ultrasound can be last month.
The regulation goes further than most people realize. 3.350 says the benefit may be granted where the loss resulted from operations in service for the relief of other conditions, with the creative organ becoming incidentally involved.
Read that again. They operated on you for something else and damaged this. That still counts.
It counts, and it's one of the most underclaimed sentences in the whole Part 3. A surgeon in a field hospital fixing a hernia isn't thinking about a benefit 30 years out. The regulation was written by people who knew that.
And being very online, ironically and professionally, I can tell you the word atrophy gets passed around 100 times more than the word diameters. Only one of them is in the regulation. Now the trap, because there's one, and it's sharp. Subparagraph 3. A loss traceable to an elective operation performed after service won't establish entitlement.
That's the one that catches people. Elective is the load-bearing word. A vasectomy you chose in 2010 isn't a route to this benefit.
But look at the exception written right beside it, because it's generous. If the post-service operation was required to correct a specific injury caused by a preceding operation in service, it supports the benefit. So the question is never simply, did you have surgery after service? It's why.
One question first. What about the one that was never there?
Nothing, and it's stated flatly. An undescended or congenitally undeveloped testis isn't a rateable disability. You didn't lose it in service, so there's no loss to compensate.
Take the removal codes while we're here, because they behave the same way. Diagnostic code 7524, removal. Both testes is 30%, one is 0%, and every one of those rows carries the same instruction underneath, review for special monthly compensation.
The schedule is telling the ratter to go look. Printed on the page, under the code.
And they still miss it, constantly.
So one question decides this entire claim, and it isn't whether you're atrophic. It's whether anyone ever wrote down how big it is.
Nobody wrote it down. That's the denial you'll see named again and again.
So we fix that today. Erica, what do you ask for?
Both testicles, both diameters, centimeters. In the report, I'm married to a structural engineer. Nobody certifies a beam because it looks thin.
Not the affected one. Both.
That's it. It's a ratio, so one number is useless.
Put the 3 doors up. I want people to see how short this list is.
Door 1. 1/3 of the paired normal testicle. That alone does it.
Door 2, 1/2 or less plus consistency. Harder or softer.
Both parts, not one.
Door 3. The biopsy. And only if the first 2 fail.
And you can decline it. Say that every time.
Look at what door 1 actually looks like. 2 crosses on a screen. That's the claim.
Those little markers are the measurement. The whole benefit lives between them.
Picture how this shape plays out. A claim denied twice.
Twice? I had it as 3.
2, 3, doesn't matter. Every denial said the same thing.
Which was?
Atrophy noted, no measurements provided. The same line on both denials.
So the fix was 1 page?
1 ultrasound report, both diameters on it, granted, and backdated to the original claim.
Years of back pay can turn on a page nobody asked for.
Which is why you never let an exam end without asking whether the dimensions went into the
No. The VA has a duty to develop the claim, not the veteran.
They do have that duty. And the regulation still says a board must find the diameters. If the board never finds them, the duty was breached, and you were still denied. One of those you can fix this week.
Okay. That one lands. Continue.
Now the money. And here I want to be careful in public. I can walk you through how the add-on works cold. The number itself resets every December, and I won't quote a reset number from memory. Pull the page. There it is, effective December 1st, 2025. SMC-K, $139.87.
And the page says the rest out loud. VA adds that rate to your basic compensation for any rating from 0 to 100%. It's their sentence, not ours.
Then I want the blunt version, because a veteran is going to ask it in the comments anyway. Is the paperwork worth $139 a month?
Honestly, for 1 page of paper and a scan you can get in an afternoon, the math isn't close, and I say that as someone who argues with
Everything. He once defended pineapple pizza on principle.
on principle, and I'd do it again. But no, the math isn't close. $1,600 a year, for life, against 1 afternoon. File it.
For life. That phrase is doing a lot of work, and there's a limit on it that landed 6 months ago. Both things are true, and one of them is new.
January 22nd, 2026. A federal court capped this benefit, and almost nobody has caught up to it yet.
Westville versus Collins at the Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims. The receipts say it's 6 months old, and it settles a question people have been arguing for years.
This is the ceiling I said we'd come back to. Look at how the statute is written, because the whole case turns on 3 words. 38 U.S.C. 1114, paragraph K, pays for the loss or loss of use of one or more creative organs. One or more.
The veteran in that case had lost the use of 2 of them. She argued entirely reasonably that the statute pays for each such loss.
The court said no. It held that the plain language authorizes only one award of K for a creative organ, no matter how many creative organs are at issue, because reading it any other way would make the words one or more meaningless.
So both testicles is still what's the phrasing? A single loss, one award.
A single category, that's the word the court uses. Category.
Category, right. And that's the part that actually helps people.
It does, and here's the ruling in plain English. Creative organs are one basket. Lose 1, lose 2, you get 1 K. But a K for a different basket is a separate award. A hand, a foot. Those stack on top of it.
So the practical read is simple. If you've lost both, don't waste a year chasing a second K because
there isn't one to chase, nearly. But that's not quite it, and the difference matters. You don't chase a second K. You chase the scheduler rating, which is exactly where the second testicle does pay you.
Say more, because that's the reversal people need.
wrong instinct, and I had it too at first. The way the codes reward, forget the codes for 1 second. Just look at the money.
Because one test is atrophied is a 0% rating and 2 is 20%, so the second one is worth
$356 more than the court will ever give you. Go on.
That's exactly the reversal, and it's worth being precise about. Under Diagnostic Code 7523, one testicle in complete atrophy is rated 0%, and both are rated 20. So the second testicle is worth nothing at the court, and $356.66 a month in the rating schedule. Which means a veteran who has lost the use of both should stop arguing about special monthly compensation entirely and start proving the second one to the rater. Same doorman. Different door, and this one is wide open.
And that's a genuinely different filing strategy than the one most veterans are given.
One award, one category, for the rest of your life. And a veteran who files it the wrong way this month still gets nothing. Bilateral testicular dimensions in centimeters, with a comment on consistency. That's the sentence I promised you at the top, and it's the whole claim. You hand it to whoever is doing your imaging, and you ask for it in the report. That works for almost everyone watching. Almost. There's one group it does nothing for, and I'd rather you hear it from us than from a denial letter.
Say it plainly, if your loss traces to an elective operation you chose after you got out, and it wasn't correcting an injury from a surgery in service, the regulation shuts the door. 3.350, Fumbercraft 3. No measurement rescues that.
Elective is the word, and it means a surgery you chose. A surgery your doctor advised to treat something that is not elective, and the regulation says so in the same paragraph.
For everyone else, the form is the easy part. 21-526-EZ for an initial claim. 20-0995 if you're supplementing a denial you already have.
And most people just file for the rating and let the rater find the rest.
That's not what the reg says, and I'm not letting that one pass. Nothing obliges a rater to volunteer this. The schedule prints review for special monthly compensation under the code, and we have an entire scene of people telling you they skip it anyway. Claim it by name.
Show me where that changes the outcome though, because that's a big claim.
Chapter and verse 3.350, paragraph A. The compensation is payable in addition to the basic rate. In addition, it's a separate award, it has its own criteria, and a claim that never names it is a claim the rater can close without ever reaching it.
Both things are true. They should find it, and they often don't. Write it on the form in their own words. Special monthly compensation K. Loss of use of a creative organ.
One question first. How fast does this actually pay?
Are you asking when the money arrives, or what date it's paid back to? Two completely different answers.
Back to. That's the one that's worth money.
Then file an intent to file today, before the ultrasound, before the records, before any of it. That's the date the award runs from. The evidence can arrive months later and still get paid back to today.
Which means the worst thing you can do this week is wait until the file looks perfect, because every month you sit on it is—
Stop right there. That's my lane, and it's the costliest mistake here. Run the arithmetic on waiting. Every month you spend building a perfect claim is a month of this add-on you'll never be paid, because the effective date doesn't reverse. The intent to file costs you nothing, and it stops the clock. There's no version of this where waiting is the better move.
So here's the number to sit with. The add-on on its own, at any rating from 0 to 100, is $1,678.44 a year.
For a page of paper, the premise that this is complicated is wrong.
If you forget everything else, remember this. The VA doesn't pay you for a shrunken testicle. It pays you for a measured one. So that's the whole thing, and it's smaller than it looks. Atrophy is a word. Loss of use is a measurement, and only the measurement gets paid. 2 things you're walking out with. 1. Get both testicular diameters into an exam report in centimeters. 1/3 of the paired normal one is the number that decides your claim. 2. Special monthly compensation K pays $139.87 a month on top of any rating from 0 to 100%. You don't have to be at 100, and you don't have to be missing anything.
Next time, the tier above K. One specific combination of ratings trips it automatically, and veterans who qualify are sitting at the wrong level right now.
What I'd keep is that the regulation was never vague. We just never read it.
I came in certain this was a benefit you had to bleed for. It isn't. It's one you measure for.
Tonight, pull up your own exam report and read your measurements. If there's only the word atrophy where 2 numbers should be, you're 1 page away.
If this is the first time anyone said this to you plainly, hit like and subscribe, because the veteran who needs this one most is the one who'd never search for it. And the honest question I'll leave you with. Would you accept a biopsy for $139 a month? There's no wrong answer to that one, and I genuinely like to read yours. Go get the measurement. This is Tiffany, thanks for watching, and I'll be right here when you come back with the number.
This is Professor Erica, thanks for watching and signing off.